Welcome back to this week's episode of Austin's Academy of Sports, where we dive deep into the topic of college basketball as the college basketball season is just getting underway all the way up until March. It's Thanksgiving time, which means Feast Week time for college basketball fans. Feast Week is a proud sponsor of ESPN throughout Thanksgiving break for college basketball. Many different tournaments will be played. Great time to be a college basketball fan. That's all I'm going to say. So let's get to it. I'm your host, Austin Shattuck here, so let's get started. Lots of fun games, tournaments are happening, or are about to happen, or have previously happened. So let's talk about the ones that have already happened. The Armed Force Classic was on Veterans Day. That was a classic game. Played on a ship in California between Michigan State and Gonzaga. They haven't played on this ship in forever. It's been like 10 years. And I was so excited to watch the game. It was a great time. I mean, everything but the win for Sparty, as I will dive deep into the topic there. But the Zags got a come-from-behind win, unfortunately, against a gritty MSU bunch led by Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo really didn't dive into the transfer rankings this year as he brought in 3 new freshmen and kept most of his guys. Only a few guys transferred out, Julius Marble being one of them. But Mady Sissoko, he's having a great year so far with 3 games and looking to improve his record throughout the year. He got matched up against Drew Timme, the All-American, and held his ground very well as long as the only bad thing is he got in foul trouble, which is expected against an All-American like Drew Timme. But, he still got 14 points with fouling out, so that was a good experience. And it was outdoor. These college basketball players aren't used to shooting the ball outdoors. They're used to playing on an indoor because basketball season is in the winter. So, I mean, it was a great experience still for the Spartans and the Zags. But in the end, Drew Timme and the Zags got the win. On the other hand, Sissoko got 14 points, as I said. And then they only lost by 1 point. I forgot to mention, Tom Izzo took a timeout at the end to draw up a good play. He said in his post-game interview he did draw up a good play, but Tyson Walker, the guy who was trying to get the shot, slipped on the court twice. And then just had to throw up a heave and a prayer, and it didn't go in. But it was a good, hard-fought win for the Zags as they come from behind. But after nights later, MSU, they got back on the plane and then took a plane trip down to Indianapolis to play in the Championships Classic with Kentucky. Mady Sissoko, again, he had to go up with an All-American, Oscar Tshiebwe, who won Player of the Year last year. But held his own, going, I think he got at least 15 or 16 points, but he did not foul out this time. And they went to 2 overtimes, which is even a blessing for the Spartans as they got the dub in a 2 overtime win against Kentucky. And Oscar Tshiebwe, he got 22 points, but Joey Hauser was the player of the game for the Spartans. He got 23. Leading the Spartans to a 2 overtime win. And, they played Villanova, did great, and then now they got the PK80, which I will talk about the tournaments a little later in the show. So, in the other game with Duke and Kansas got a narrow 5-point win. Jalen Wilson led the Hawks with 25, while Kyle Filipowski led the Devils with 17. Duke is entering a new era with the John Scheyer mode as their coach instead of Coach K. And Kansas was without Bill Self, their head coach, for the first few games because of I think it was, he got suspended for a few games. I can't remember the reason why. But, it's still a great game in the Champions Classic that always leads off the college basketball season. And surprisingly, Dickie V was on the call for the Michigan State game, at least, down in Indianapolis. He made the trip up from Florida, where he lives. he called a great game. He's dealing with cancer right now, as you guys know. But he's getting better with it. And go Dickie V. Anyways, I think both teams will get the march, with Bill Self getting back and John Shire, his freshman squad just improving, starting out a little overranked, I believe, in the preseason, but they'll get going, cooking here a little later in the season with the ACC schedule coming up soon. And then finally, Tyrese Hunter and the Horns, the Texas Longhorns, they hosted the Drew Timmy's Gonzaga Bulldogs again. Well, I shouldn't say again. I'm mentioning Drew Timmy's Gonzaga Bulldogs again. But they hosted them again, and they dominated. 93 points. Tyrese Hunter, the player of the game, got 26 points for the Longhorns, and they got the upset. 11-2 upset there. So I do think Gonzaga is going to move down in the rankings a little bit. Texas will move up, but Marcus Carr, man, he was the floor general. He transferred from Minnesota from the Big Ten to the Big 12 as a great floor general. He got 9 assists, I believe, dishing them out. Only 1 turnover, which led Texas to play their game smoothly, and got 93 points. Marcus Carr was kind of the unsung hero there. And then, so as we get into Feast Week here, we got tons of tournaments here. I could go on and list all the tournaments and the teams and stuff like that, but I'm only going to list a few highlighted tournaments that I found on the internet. So here are my predictions of who's going to win each tournament. I got Georgia winning the Sunshine Slam. Georgia, usually they're the only team that I saw that was pretty much, unless they get an upset, they're going to win that Sunshine Slam tournament. That's one of the first tournaments of Feast Week. And then Creighton, I have them edging out Arkansas in the Maui Jam Invitational down in Maui. I have St. John's winning the Empire Classic. I have Kansas winning the Battle for Atlantis after coming off of an impressive Championships Classic tournament against the Duke Blue Devils. Grady Dick, the awesome freshman there. Jalen Wilson, returning as a senior year. Another great player. I have Kansas winning the Battle for Atlantis. Unfortunately, I don't have Michigan State winning the Phil Knights Invitational. I have North Carolina. I have Michigan State getting to the final, but losing to North Carolina. There are too many skilled players on North Carolina with a skilled coach. And, yeah, North Carolina wins that. I have Gonzaga winning the Phil Knights Legacy Tournament. And then finally I have Houston winning the Cougar Classic. Only 3 teams in the Cougar Classic, but Marcus Sasser with the Houston leads his Houston Cougars to a championship trophy there. And then, like I said, these are just a few tournaments highlighted. But if you want to see all the teams in the tournaments and the tournaments, where they're played, when they're played, if they're televised or not, just go to www.bloggingthebracket.com, and that's where I got all my information from. It'll give you who, where, when, why, how, all those different things. And as always, thank you, and see you next week. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. See ya. Austin signing off.